Welcome, guys. Today's guest is Claudia Conley. Claudia is a product manager at flatmates.com.au, which is Australia's largest online share housing marketplace. Users can go there to either post a room or a house that they have for rent, or people on the other side can post a profile if they're seeking a room for rent. She also holds a Bachelor of Arts in International Studies and, by the looks of it, can speak fluent French and is currently studying Spanish. Claudia, welcome.
Wow, what an intro. Thank you so much. My Spanish is minimal, but I am learning.
So if we threw you in a room with Spaniards, how would you go?
Yeah, like I can order a beer. I can talk about the weather. I can get us to the train station, all the important things.
Yeah. What is it? Cerveza, isn't it? That's the...
Yeah, una cerveza, por favor.
Yeah.
My French is actually much better. I did live there for a while, so that's okay.
Oh, there you go. That was going to be one of my questions. Where did the passion for language come from originally?
Oh, yeah. So I went on exchange to France for a year when I was 16 and was really lucky that I was able to do that. And sort of growing up, my family, I'm one of 5 kids, but for some reason, mum and dad were like, that's not enough people in the house. And so we often had international students living with us as well. So we've had students from China, Korea, Japan, France, Germany living with us kind of for extended periods of time. And so I guess that was what really kind of made me realize that this was really cool and that was really something that I wanted to do. So yeah, decided to move to France at 16 and
oh, wow.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for a year and then I went back again for kind of a uni semester, and then I'm really close with my host family, so we catch up quite regularly. They come over here, and then I've just been back recently to visit them again.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that why you chose to study international studies? Is that where that sort of came from as well?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, everyone in our degree was like, oh, I just love traveling. I love languages. That's why I've done this degree. And then it's sort of when we all finished, we were like, oh, it may have been better use of our time to have done something with maybe some more tangible, engineering would have been great, computer science, but that's okay. I made great friends and I did learn a lot. So,
oh, well, it looks like you've come pretty far in your career so far anyway, so that hasn't all been bad, right?
No, that's right. So yeah, been very lucky and don't regret anything that's happened. So yeah, it's been a great journey.
I think not learning another language fluently is probably one regret that I do have. I think it was Italian from primary school all the way through up to year 11 and then just stopped. So yeah, it's one of those things
it's never
I wish
too
I'd
late.
done.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it isn't ever too late, but I've heard it's quite hard to pick up a language once you're sort of, probably at my age, it might be a bit tough.
I find rewatching Netflix shows, I love watching shows from other languages, but if you're rewatching like The Office for the 7th time, maybe you could pop it in Italian and then you can kind of pick up, or whatever language you're learning, and then you can start to pick up the words and how they converse and that sort of thing.
So that's a nice little language learning hack.
Yes.
There you go. So if we wind back to the start of, I suppose, your career when you first came out of school, what was your first job that you had, and what was like one of the big lessons you took from that, and maybe something that you still apply today?
Yeah, my very, very first job at high school was cooking hot chips with extra chicken, salt and gravy at coffee break at Eastlands. But my first job out of uni, I worked for a PR company that basically, like an agency that basically helped to find subject matter experts and then connect them with the media. So if the project's running a story on global warming or the effects of climate change, they would contact us and say, hey, we need a environmental scientist. Do you have someone on your books who can come chat to us for a conversation? Things like that. Awesome learning curve. I guess what the biggest thing I learned from that job was just say yes to everything, especially when you're starting out. You know, you never know the opportunity that you're going to miss out on if you say no. So say yes to everything. And then I guess as you get further along in your career, I think still follow that same idea of saying yes to everything, but you probably have a little bit more perspective of like, I can say no to that now, or, you know, my priorities are different or that sort of thing. But I think definitely starting out in your career, just say yes to everything and soak up as much as you can.
Yeah, I think that's a good pointer for sure. It definitely opens up a lot of doors. And you never know where that path might lead. You might meet someone who then you go work for, or, you know, anything could happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Some good advice there, Claudia.
I mean, I'm still very new in my career, so, you know, hopefully there'll be more lessons along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe if you can tell us what your role is at Flatmates and what you exactly do there.
Yeah, so my role has changed recently. I've recently moved into product. So my official title is Associate Product Manager Community at Flatmates. The community side of things is I sort of do our PR and work with our marketing team and run all of our social medias and look after our customer service team. So that kind of public facing community side, looking after our Flatmates community. And then the associate product manager side is a new career path that I've moved into. So at the beginning of that career, but product management in general is improving the product that you have, whether it's an app, a website, you know, or a physical product, and making it better for consumers. And so a lot of that role involves research. So talking to our community members, seeing what they like and what they don't like with Flatmates, looking to the future, you know, where will our product Flatmates be sitting in the next year, 2, 3, 5 years? And how can we change what we offer to make it a better product and to continue its success?
Oh, that's awesome. And if you can take us back to when Flatmate started and maybe talk us through that journey a little bit, sort of what it looked like. I mean, when did it start exactly? And then sort of what it looks like today.
Yeah, so Flatmates originally was an agency in Sydney where, you know, Jacob, if you need to find a new place to live in Bondi, you would go into the office, have a meeting with one of the staff and be like, hey, I'm looking for a place in Bondi and I want it to be near the beach and it needs to have at least one toilet. And then they would try and find you a place, basically. Obviously, that was back in the 90s, and forwarding on to where we are now, we're completely digital. It's all an app and a website. And we're completely a peer-to-peer listing. So a peer-to-peer service, sorry. So we don't partake in any of the conversations between the two parties. If you, Jacob, are looking for a new place to live, you contact directly any properties and any people offering properties on the platform. Flatmates is more there to guide, give advice, help you on your journey, and obviously to step in and help out if you need any advice or anything down the track.
Yeah, cool. So it's like a platform that plays as like the intermediary between both sides of that marketplace, and then you provide services on top of that to, you know, enhance the experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. And what would you say Flatmate's mission is? Like, what's the reason that they exist?
Yeah, so our mission is to create the best shared living experiences and to help everyone find what they're looking for, whether that be a flatmate or a new place to live. So we want everyone to come to Flatmates, have an incredible experience, find exactly what they're looking for. And we're Australia's #1 share accommodation marketplace at the moment. Well, we have been, and for quite a long time, not just at the moment, in terms of size and volume and visits, but we'd love to continue that on into the future and, you know, go on the journey as to what that looks like in being Australia's #1.
Yeah, I was actually a user of Flatmates quite a few number of years ago, and it appears the rental or share housing marketplace has changed quite a lot. I remember back then when I ended up renting a place in West End in Brisbane, we actually managed to get the listing for cheaper than what it was advertised for, because there was such a number of units and apartments on the marketplace, whereas now it seems like there's nothing. There's a bit of a rental crisis going on, I suppose you could call it. What's your view on the reasons that have contributed to that, and how does Flatmates play into that?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has changed a lot, especially over the past couple of years. I really hope you had a good experience in your West End share house.
It was really good. Basically, I found someone on platform on Flatmates, and then we ended up just renting a place together. So yeah, it was really
nice.
good.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So first of all, kudos for asking for a rent reduction and looking at what else was going on in the neighbourhood. We really encourage people to make sure that they're aware of not just their property, but their surrounding suburb and what's going on, so that you know that you're, getting what's fair, whether you are a landlord or you're offering a room or you're looking for a room. It's really good that you keep aware of, your surroundings. So I guess the biggest challenges in the past couple of years, and we are in a rental crisis at the moment, the biggest reason for that is the big C word, COVID. Obviously, that had a huge impact on the world, but share accommodation in general. And in Australia, it was because suddenly no one was allowed in or out. So we weren't getting any new people coming into Australia or even across interstate borders, moving into share houses. So people who had a spare room or needed to fill their property couldn't, because there just wasn't the volume of people looking. And then on top of that, we had people living in share houses were like, I've been living with this person in lockdown for the past 6 months. I've only seen them and I know everything about their life. I'm in their work meetings, they're my gym buddy, my workout buddy, everything. I need to get out. So then we had more people moving out. And basically this had a huge tunnel effect, because suddenly there was all these properties available with no one to move into them. So then on top of that, we saw a lot of people sell their properties. So maybe landlords or investors who maybe might have had an investment property as a share house, they've suddenly sold that property because they're like, I can't find any renters to fill it. Fast forward 2 years, lockdowns are over, Australian borders are open. We've got a massive influx of people coming from international and interstate borders. Suddenly, there's no properties available because a lot of those share house properties were sold and they're now occupied by owner-occupied or occupied by families. Suddenly, there's so many more people in Australia when they can't find a place to live. And then on top of that, during the pandemic, as many people know, rents were reduced because, there was just no competition. Now with competition being extremely high, we have a stack of people who can no longer afford to live in their property or in their suburb or even in their city of choice because, there's just no properties available and the rent's too high. So it is causing a massive rental crisis across Australia.
Yeah, I heard something the other day, or maybe I read it. There's people who are, paying a year's upfront in rent, or, adding a $5,000 bonus to the vendor or owner just so they can secure that property. And that's just to rent. That's not even to buy. So some crazy things going on in the market.
Yeah, those kind of stats are really scary. In Victoria, in 2021, I think it was, the government brought in rules and regulations that wasn't allowed to occur, that you weren't allowed to pay more than 3 months of rent in advance to try and stop, that kind of unfairness happening. But obviously every state's different. There's different rules. So I think there needs to be more government intervention to stop that sort of thing happening, because how can a uni student or a single mum or someone who needs to find a place to live compete with that,
Yeah, it's really tough. I saw the vacancy rates have dropped below like 1% in some places, which is just crazy.
Yeah. So basically the takeaway from that is we need more people to offer their spare rooms for rent or their spare properties. There's been plenty of studies come out that, so many homes in Australia are sitting empty. I think on census night, there were 1 million homes sitting empty. Put them up for rent. People need a place to live. If you've got, more than the home that you're living in and you can, pop it up for rent, not only is it helping alleviate pressure from the rental crisis, but you as a homeowner obviously are going to get financial benefits from that as well.
Yeah, and I suppose from the owner's side, interest rates have increased recently, so there'd be extra pressure on their budget. So it might be a way to alleviate that as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So at Flatmates right now, that's kind of one of our main goals, is we're really trying to break down the barriers of share accommodation and what share accommodation means, and trying to highlight to people that, a share house isn't just for uni students these days, that, we have a growing demographic of people over 50 moving into share accommodation. We have a large demographic of elder sharers. young families are often sharing homes to share costs. And so if you have a spare room or a spare home, you might not be renting it out to that stereotypical student that might be putting you off. There's plenty of people around the country who need share accommodation.
What do you think about the Australian dream of owning a home? I know because I've got a younger brother and sister who's 18, brother who's like 22, and I just think it's going to be nearly impossible unless they get a big handout from the parents or something like that. If you're not earning over six figures, it just seems like it's pretty much impossible. Like you've got to save, I think in Sydney, the medium home price is like $1 million plus. So to save up, what's 20% of that, 200,000, that's going to take them 20 years, which is a daunting prospect. So what's your view on that? And, how do we get through that? Is there a solution?
I find these questions are really tricky because, for every person who says it's impossible, then there's some media article that comes out and it's like, well, this person just worked hard and they were able to buy a home. And I think it is extremely difficult for young people to buy a home. I'm not going to say it's impossible because, people do it. But I think for the majority of young people wanting to enter into the property market, it is extremely difficult. If you look back to our parents' generation, a 3-bedroom home costs the same as 2 to 3 years of someone's salary. Now, if you're looking at the same home, it's going for 10 plus years salary equivalent. And so that is just completely impossible, especially with the rising cost of living. Everything costs more, so it's just even harder for young people to purchase homes. I think with Australia as well, we have this bizarre pressure for people to buy a home. It's like you're only successful if you buy a home. Whereas if you look to places like Europe, a lot of European cities and countries, renting is the norm and only certain people own properties. In Germany, for example, the average rental cycle is about 30 to 50 years, and you find people get like 10-year leases on a property because buying a home just isn't part of their, dream, isn't part of their culture. So I think that really needs to change in Australia, as it is going to be so much harder for people to purchase homes. I think where we really need help, though, is probably government intervention. And look, I'm no expert, so I can't say what that looks like. But I think, there needs to be some kind of cap that people can't just keep buying, their 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th property. Or if they are going to do that, there needs to be some kind of regulation or some kind of tax that then can go back and help people who are struggling to enter into the purchasing market to be able to do so.
Yeah, I think the whole buy and hold property investment game, it's not very productive for the economy at all because you're not producing anything, you're not creating jobs. At least with the high rises and apartment buildings, they're creating jobs and creating new homes, whereas the other side, it's just literally buy and hold, and hopefully, they see a increase in prices.
Exactly.
It's a tough situation because at the moment, on one side, you can't afford to buy a home, and on the other side, you can't find a place to rent. So it's
so hard. Yeah. And, that's what made me so mad on census night. And, I do understand many cities were in lockdown. So that may be why there were so many empty properties, or, people's holiday homes were sitting empty or what have you. But 1 million homes is, that's a huge amount of property. And then if you think those homes have on average 2 bedrooms or maybe 3, there has to be some way that we can connect the dots and to help, alleviate pressure from the rental crisis, help people find a home if properties are just sitting there empty anyway.
What's your thoughts on those platforms, sort of like Stays and Airbnb? Obviously, a lot of people, rather than putting their house up for rent to a normal person, now they're putting it on those platforms where they rent it out only at a per night rate, and obviously they get more money for that. How do you think we tackle that situation?
Yeah, I can't drag those platforms because I also use them when I go on holiday. And, I love, look at this cute B&B. What have they got? So I'm also part of the problem. Look, again, sorry to keep harping on, but I think the main thing is government regulation. Hobart and Byron Bay especially have really been impacted by Airbnb. where, again, locals can't find properties, and it's then driving the price of the remaining rental properties up because of Airbnb and stays and things like that. So I think that, again, there needs to be government regulation. I know some cities have rules around the world that if you rent your additional property, your Airbnb, out for, say, more than 90 nights of the year, you have to pay some kind of tax, which then helps, or some kind of levy that then helps keep the average rental price at its usual price. So I think, there probably needs to be more look into that because, all these little communities that don't have the huge economies of Melbourne and Sydney and the big bucks, Hobart and Byron, are obviously being really badly affected by these rising rental prices.
Yeah, absolutely. How does because Flatmates has recently been purchased by REA, is that correct?
Yeah, in
maybe not recently.
2016, yeah.
Yeah, a while ago. So obviously they're the number one platform in terms of sales and rentals across Australia. How does that relationship work with Flatmates, and what do they bring to the table for you guys?
Yeah, so we were purchased by REA in 2016, and basically Flatmates, we're still our own independent brand. We still have our own mission and our own vision, and we're quite autonomous in terms of what direction we would like to take. But we have the full backing and the full support of REA. So a big part and a big reason of the purchase was being able to aid and assist consumers on their entire property journey. So if they start and enter the ecosystem with Flatmates, we can then help them more easily and more efficiently on their, next part of their journey, whether that be they remain with Flatmates or they're then looking to rent or looking to buy or sell. We also see a lot of our consumers, they don't just follow that linear of share, rent, buy, sell. You see people, they go share, rent, share, buy, sell, share, buy. There's so many different ways. And because we're part of that REA ecosystem, we can just basically improve our products and make it a much more seamless process for our consumers. And I guess on the other flip side of it is, Flatmates was a startup. Flatmates was quite a small company. Being purchased by REA, it does open us to a lot of doors. We do get the full support of the REA teams in terms of tech support, data, PR, marketing, which, being a small team that Flatmates was, they just didn't have those kind of resources. So it allows us to create really the best product that we can.
And in terms of the actual product, what's some exciting things coming up in the near future? Is there a big plan over the next 3 years to bring out a new product, or is it just continuously improving the current one?
Yeah, so we have quite a few things on the roadmap. I guess our first idea is to really work on transparency, not only within the product, but transparency between users. So we understand for so many people, the thought of meeting a stranger online and then living with them and moving into their home can be really daunting. So we're looking into ways that we can make that whole process more transparent, whether we have, a review system. At the moment, all of our reviews are done internally, they're not external. Is there a kind of a rating system? So like, Jacob, if I live with you and we have an awesome experience, can I give you 5 stars and leave a comment and be like, Jacob was an awesome flatmate, really recommend him. That's something that works really well with Airbnb. People like to look through reviews of properties. So that's something that we're looking into. We've recently launched IDV, so ID verification. So you can get your passport or driver's license verified through a third party. But we're looking at taking that a step further. Can we do background checks if people want to have a background check done? So I can get it done for myself, pop it up on my profile, and so that anyone contacts me knows that I have gone through the background check and, everything's kosher. So that's kind of one side. Another side is kind of looking more into the fun part of share accommodation, which is, moving to a new suburb. And all about moving, obviously. Getting to know a new place. Can we do more with community partnerships in terms of partnering, with the local cafe down the road or the local pub, or is there kind of more that we can do in that sort of space? So we're kind of dipping into a few of those ideas.
So would it be like if I move to a new suburb, then as a part of that, once I've moved there, you guys would provide like a whole bunch of information on this is the best new cafe, this is, the local dog park, or, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we can send you a guide once you've moved in, or if you're like coming to Australia and you're like, hey, I'm really interested in Brunswick and West End, they're completely different cities, but, trying to go cross country here, we can send you, guides with local community partners of like, what's the best things to do in West End? Is it the markets on the Saturday? Is it heading to that cool gin brewery? Is there a gin distillery in West End? I think so.
There is.
Yes.
There is. I have been to it, yes.
Yeah. So, we could provide you with a kind of Flatmate stamp of approval guide on like how to get the most out of your new suburb.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's a really good idea, just to help people blend into the new suburb and become familiarized with it. That's awesome. So in terms of the share housing industry, what's something that sort of really changed over the past couple of years? Obviously, besides the COVID thing, but is there anything else that sort of fundamentally changed about how it operates?
Yeah, I think COVID has affected it, but in different ways that we probably didn't expect. So previously, a lot of people, when looking for a share house, they might have just been happy with any house. They're like, I want to live in New Farm in Brisbane. I'm happy with any house. I just know I want to live in New Farm. Whereas now we've found people are really picky on the quality of the home. And that's because we're spending more time at home. Even though we're back working from the office, people often are, doing more study and more working from home. So they're like, I need a bigger room. I need a separate room for my study. I need a garden. I need green space. So in the past, we hadn't seen sharers really being picky on the type of home. And so that's been a really big change. And again, that kind of falls into our transparency thing. We want to add more filters so people can really show clearly exactly what their house has to offer, and they can find exactly what they're looking for through our filters. And then I guess the flip side of that as well, people always want to live with nice people, and you always want to live with people that you get along with, for sure. But we have found as people have kind of come through the pandemic that those relationships and those connections are even more important than before. People are really worried, like we may go into another lockdown or something may happen, and I don't want to be stuck with Jacob, who I don't like, because I'll have to do everything with him. So people are really like doing their QA, I guess, on their flatmate or their new flatmate to really make sure that they bond really well with the person before moving in. And that was something that kind of wasn't a huge priority for many people before COVID.
So those type of resources, is that something that you guys provide, or have, blogs and stuff like that on your website, that if I'm going to meet a potential flatmate, I can ask them these 10 questions to make sure that, they'd be the right fit?
Yeah, definitely. So we've got plenty of blogs on flatmates.com.au with a stack of questions you can ask people. We're also looking into releasing, hopefully soon, some more personality filters. So, if I'm an introvert and I'm looking for an extrovert, or if I'm a gym junkie and I'm looking for someone who's going to have a similar lifestyle, or if I want a party house or I don't want a party house, we're looking at adding those sorts of filters to make that search that little bit easier for our consumers. But I guess the main thing I just have to say to everyone, whenever you're meeting someone online, the most important bit of advice we have is call someone before you go meet them in person, because Jacob and I might have a really great conversation via text, and then I might invite him over to my house, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, yeah, this is not it. Like, we're just not vibing. It's not going to happen. And then that's a huge waste of your time, because you can't kick someone out of your house after 5 minutes. So we really suggest have a phone call first. And I might call you, Jacob, and I might be like, oh, actually, he sounds awesome. Yep. Now you can come over to my house and check it out, because we've already kind of established a bit of rapport. So that's probably our best bit of advice: FaceTime or call before meeting someone in person, to really make sure that, you're not wasting your time, but that they're a really good fit for you as well.
Is that a tech feature that you could implement into the product, where they just like press a button on the app and you can just see the person and have a chat with them?
Yes, that is definitely something we're looking into as well. Plenty of things on the roadmap.
Oh, there you go. So I think when I first used the product, I think it was around 2016. It was purely desktop. I don't think there was an app at that stage. So you guys now have an app. Is that sort of the focus now more than the desktop? Is there anything else that you guys are working on to in terms of the product side?
Yeah, so the app is fairly new. We released it in 2019. So we have Android and iOS app. Basically, we just looked at our consumers and 70% of our consumers were using the mobile website instead of desktop. So we're like, okay, maybe there's something in this. Maybe we should make an app. And so we're always just trying to finesse our app and make it the best that it can. We do have some pages of our app that are still web views. So if you're not sure what that is, it's not custom built to the app. It loads the website page sort of within the app, which, still gives members what they need, but it's not the most efficient service. And so we're looking at trying to take everything on the app native, but that just obviously takes a bit of time. We've got 3 mobile devs and they're amazing. But most app teams, if you're building an app, have, 10 plus developers just for the app, not including the website. So the fact that we've got 3, they're an awesome team, but things just take a little bit longer.
What's the breakdown in your usage from desktop to app now that you've got that app service available?
Yeah, I think it's quite high.
Sorry
I don't
to
know
put
the
you on the
exact.
spot.
No, I don't know. I should know that. I don't know the exact stats. I know that it's still about 70-30 split desktop to app, but it has been increasing. So we are seeing more and more app users, mobile users use the app. So I'll keep you posted on that one.
Yeah, no worries. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yes, great. Sounds good.
Absolutely. And what's the usage rate in terms of numbers? Like, how many users do you have on the platform? Monthly users, weekly? Or,
so we have about 60,000 monthly users. Sorry, 60,000 new users every month. So a new user is someone who hasn't used Flatmates in the past 12 months. So they've had to come back or create a new platform, create a new account. So basically, share accommodation is going gangbusters at the moment. We had the largest September we've ever had on record for new members, welcoming 60,000 new members just last month. And that's, compared to 2019, 2018, non-COVID times. The issue is 80% of these new users are all looking for accommodation. They're not people who are offering accommodation.
I see.
Yeah. So we've got a real disparity between people looking and what's available. Some suburbs, I know Miami Beach on the Gold Coast, we have a ratio of 143 people looking for every room available in Miami. So that is just wild, So
yeah, the Gold Coast is mental. I know because we operate on the Gold Coast as well, and some of the other co-founders are from the Gold Coast, and we've got drivers that work down there. And I just hear stories about property and real estate and renting, and it's just madness.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, really kind of suburbs that have got a really big disparity in Brisbane. I know Kelvin Grove near the uni. Is that near the, Kelvin Grove? I think last time I checked, so probably, what's it now? It's October. So in September, they had a disparity or ratio of 80 people looking for every room available in Kelvin Grove. And it's not even peak season for share accommodation. Uni peak season is kind of Jan, Feb. And so if we're seeing these numbers already in September, it's quite frightening to think of what will happen at the start of the year for peak season.
It's all those damn people from Sydney and Melbourne coming up to the Sunshine State.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still here. I have
accommodation.
I mean, look, lockdown was tough. People had to do what they had to do. But that has been a real problem for so many regional and sunny beachy areas, is that people move during lockdowns. They love the lifestyle so much they haven't moved back. So they're taking up property. And also we're seeing a lot of students who would normally move from regional areas like, Port Macquarie or Byron or wherever to the bigger cities. They've realised that they can stay living at home for cheap and can do uni online. And so they also aren't moving out of properties. So it is kind of everyone's just staying in these areas. There's not enough. Yeah, the properties aren't becoming available.
Yeah, I think the thought process was for cities like Melbourne and Sydney, if I'm going to be locked down for this time, I might as well be like in a sunny spot. So then when everything did reopen, a lot of them moved up here. So
I mean, yeah, Queensland's stunning. I was there at winter during winter last year for about 3 weeks. My sister lives in West End. And it's 25 degrees in the middle of winter at lunchtime. You know, we don't get that on our best summer day.
You can get sunburnt in winter up here, so.
Yeah, so I can see why people want to live up there. It's absolutely stunning.
I did see you posted something on LinkedIn a couple of days ago about a specific rental crisis. Was it Northern Rivers, New South Wales?
Oh, yeah, the mid-north coast of New South Wales.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's happening there exactly?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting partnership that's come from an organisation. It's called Regional Development Australia, and then we're partnering with the Mid-North Coast branch. They basically reached out to us and, you know, what we've talked about this whole podcast, they're in the middle of a rental crisis. Locals are getting priced out of their homes because of rent increases, and then basically there's just not enough homes available for everyone who wants a place to live. But they recently ran a study and found that there's 80,000 spare rooms in their region and 12,000 homes sitting empty. And so what they're trying to do is, you know, obviously government intervention and getting new homes built and, you know, all of that is obviously a top priority, but those things take a really long time to get over the fence. And so in the interim, they're trying to solve the rental crisis or help take pressure off the market in their own way. And they want to encourage those homeowners who have a spare room or two or who have a spare house to rent it out on Flatmates to help, I guess, alleviate that pressure and to try and find homes for the people who can't find them.
And have you found any traction on that yet, or that's only just starting?
It's partnership, but we're really excited to see what happens and really hoping that we see more people and more regions sort of take this on board as well.
Yeah, it sounds like a really exciting partnership. I think if you can find that win-win for both sides, that's sort of, I think, where you guys will have the most success.
Yeah,
trying
exactly.
to convince the owners that it's beneficial for them is probably the biggest gap that you've got to try and close, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, people are like, you know, it's your home, it's your sanctuary, your home is your castle. People obviously would have reservations about then opening that up. So yeah, we're trying our hardest to change the minds up there.
I'm sure you'll do an amazing job, Claudia.
Thank you.
So just changing tune for a bit, we'll focus on you for a little while. What's a social cause besides the housing crisis? What's, you know, a social cause that you care about and, you know, that you're involved in?
Yeah, I guess my biggest thing I'm most passionate about is the environment. I grew up in Tassie and grew up hiking and camping, and being sustainable was a really big part of our way of life. It wasn't even made a fuss about. It was just like, of course you know, recycle or, you know, reduce your showers or, you know, have a veggie garden and grow your own things. It was just sort of a way of life. And I guess sort of just seeing the way that the climate is now, and, you know, you read the stats about if the world temperature raises another degree or two, could have catastrophic implications. You know, the floods in Victoria and the bushfires, it's all around us. And so I guess I'm really passionate about, doing what I can, but also for big corporations to stop digging massive holes into the earth and to do more to reduce their carbon output as well.
That wasn't you who threw the paint on the Monet or something? Recently?
Oh my goodness. Okay. No, whilst I'm very passionate about the environment, I also love my fine art, and they threw a can of soup on a Van Gogh, I'm pretty sure.
Van Gogh. Okay. Yeah.
To be honest, Van Gogh would have loved that. Like, he cut his own ear off. He'd be like, this is art, you know, a can of soup on my paint. It's art.
Leave it as it is. It'll be worth more in 20 years. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
What's one piece of advice you'd give someone starting out in their career? Obviously, you're only reasonably new, relatively, in your career, but what's something that, you know, maybe you would have wanted to be told when you're starting out?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I said it already. My biggest thing is just saying yes to everything, and I guess not shutting yourself off to opportunities because you think it's not for you, or you don't have the skills to do that. So why would you even apply or go for that job or things like that? I studied international studies. I didn't think I would end up working for flatmates.com.au, but it's just the way the world works. And it was actually my mentor at the time showed me the role for this job. And she was like, this sounds like you. Like, this sounds like you'd love this job. I think you'd really love it. You should give it a go. I wouldn't have even looked at the job had she not showed it to me. So I think, don't shut your mind off. Be open. Suck up as much information as you can. And again, all this information is also still for myself because I still have a long way to go.
And was there anything that you wanted to be when you were young? Like, if you weren't working for Flatmates, was there another career path that you were like, oh, this is what I want to do? Yeah,
classic drama kid. I wanted to be an actress, and I was sure it was going to happen. Like, whoa, it was there. No one could tell me that I wasn't going to make it to Hollywood, because those who don't believe aren't going to get there.
There's still time, Claudia. There's still time.
Look, there is. No, I think I just realized probably in my last years of high school, I was like, you know what? Nah, that's actually not for me. I want to learn about the world and try something else.
Yeah. Oh, well, you could be like the ambassador for Flatmates and be the spokesperson, right?
Exactly.
That could be like a close second to being a Hollywood actress.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. On par, almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You touched on just before then about a mentor. Was there anyone who's sort of been the biggest influence on your career or your life in general, and why have they been that person?
Yeah, I guess career-wise, my old manager at my old job, Beth Henry, she's an absolute gun. She has been an awesome support for me in terms of decision-making or trusting my gut or, trying new things. And I still, we worked together probably 5 years ago, so I still catch up with her, and, whether it's just for a drink and a catch up or whether it's like, I need your help. She's amazing. So really look up to her and everything that she's done. And she's kind of this boss ass businesswoman, but also has 2 kids and works full time, and her partner works full time, and they kind of juggle it all and always turn up for their kids as well. So I just really admire the way that they make it work. In my life, probably my mom. She's crazy. She's also a go-getter. She literally doesn't say no to anything. Like, she swims 5K in the ocean on a Wednesday morning. She's out mountain biking every day. She's always in leopard print. She just kind of like lives her best life.
Wow.
So yeah. When she gets up in the morning to go swimming at 5 a.m. in the ocean, she puts on lipstick because she says it just makes her swim faster. And I love that.
Is it red lipstick though, right? Because red's the fastest colour.
Look, sometimes it's purple, sometimes it's pink.
Okay.
Yeah, it really changes. But I just love that. She's like, nope, I'm not swimming without my lipstick. And then like it's dark, in the ocean. Like, who's going to see the sharks? Like, yeah.
Is this swimming in the ocean in Melbourne?
She's in Tassie, so she's crazy.
Oh, so it's even colder in Tassie.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she has a swim group called the Weedy Sea Dragons. outdoor swimming group, and they're not allowed to wear wetsuits. So sometimes they do it she does some with wetsuits, but when she swims with them, she's not allowed to wear a wetsuit.
Oh, they're absolute animals.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, obviously you'd have to have a nice hot shower after that for sure.
It is the best shower you've ever had in your life. Once you've swam a couple of K in the cold Tasmanian Ocean, yeah, it's amazing.
Well, if anything's going to wake you up at 5 a.m, it's going to be a swim in the Tasmanian Ocean in the middle of winter.
Exactly. Gets the heart starting for sure.
Well, we'll close up shortly. Maybe if you can just tell us where people can find Flatmates and information about Flatmates, and also yourself online if they want to speak with you.
Yeah, so the name is the website. So just head to flatmates.com.au. You'll be able to find whatever you're looking for, whether you need to find your flatmate, find a house, or just get some advice. It's all there. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Our name is the same, flatmates.com.au. For me, probably the best place just on LinkedIn. You can find me, Claudia Conley. But obviously, if you've got any Flatmates questions, feel free to send them through or just send them directly on the website to our contact team, and we'll be able to help you out.
And if you have a room available, list it on Flatmates, right?
Yes, we need your rooms. Please list it tomorrow, today.
Yes, Claudia will love you if you do that. Last question. What's a goal that you've got for the next 12 months, either personal or professional?
Yeah, I guess my biggest goal professionally is really excelling in this new role that I've got in as an associate product manager. I really want to be able to show that I've, to myself, but also to my team, that it was the right decision, and that I'm also really helping the Flatmates as a brand to be the best it can be. So yeah, my goal is just to smash it, really. Give it a red hot crack.
Smash it in 2023. I think that's a good way to close out this
Thank
episode.
you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Claudia, and helping us level up.
No worries. Thank you so much.